Hello, everyone. This is the host of this podcast feature known as Surprise Cast. Take a listen. On April 8th, my brother Chris and I experienced one of the best shows I've seen within the last 5 years. Why? Because it completely defied my expectations, and the audio quality was absolutely pure mint. In Menlo Park, California, we were there to see the legendary synth-pop pioneer Gary Numan. Longtime fans, yet first-timers when it came to seeing him live. The buzz in the air was electric. You could feel it. This crowd knew they were about to witness something special. Dare I say, historical. Opening that night was the LA-based dream pop band Tremours to support one of the best albums within the last 5 to 10 years, Fragments. When they launched into a Jesus and Mary chain cover, I turned to my brother with a big ear-to-ear smile. This was going to be epic. The dynamic duo immediately pulled us in, crafting dreamy soundscapes as lush as something as Cocteau Twins' rich catalog. Waves of reverb spilled out from Lauren's Stratocaster while Glenn's drumming echoed the minimalist downbeat of Mo Tucker of one of my favorite bands, Velvet Underground. And as ESPN former broadcaster Stuart Scott would say, cool as the other side of the pillow. Pulsating lights only thickened the atmosphere, making everything feel cavernous, intimate at the same time. I found myself completely immersed in their intoxicating sound. What a complete experience. Let us bring Tremours to Surprise Cast right now. Hello, Glenn. Welcome. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little bit tired, but I'm good.
Could you tell all the podcast listeners where you are podcasting from?
Podcasting from my lair in Los Angeles, downtown.
And I understand you just had a big move, yeah?
A big move. We're still moving, but yeah, it will never end.
Congratulations. Lauren, let's bring you in. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having us.
You're absolutely welcome. Thank you for joining me. So, let's start with Glenn. Can you give us a little bit of your insight into this latest tour with Gary Numan? How did it go? Any highlights you'd like to share? Go for it.
It was very exhausting, but it was rewarding. Just I wasn't totally sure how we'd go down, to be honest. We did a few dates on Gary's last tour when he was supporting Psychedelic Furs. So I'm not sure how many shows that was, but when he wasn't playing with Psychedelic Furs, we opened for him. And then he asked us back to support for this whole tour. And yeah, we're not really like Gary's music. So I didn't really know how we'd go down. At the same time, not to sound cocky, I didn't really care because I like supporting bands because you can't lose, basically, because lots of people go to support bands and they don't expect anything. So if you don't play very well, people will say, oh, well, that's the support band. And it's fine. And the pressure's off. So if you do play well and you impress people, it's a bonus. So that's why I like supporting people. But yeah, it went down really well, better than expected. Gary's fans were really welcoming and Gary was dancing around his dressing room singing to our songs. And yeah, the band said not letting too much in, but they have a few drinks before they go on stage just to loosen up. They said that every night they started drinking. They didn't tell us what songs, but every night when we started playing the set, they would start drinking on a certain song. They'd stop drinking on another song. And then Tim, the bass player, said when we started playing Circulation Sound, they knew that was it. That was time to get ready to go on stage. So yeah, all in all, it was really good.
Thank you for retracing those steps. Lauren, what about for you? Any highlights, any stories from that tour you'd like to share?
I mean, maybe nothing exactly show related, but we did in Asheville, we got to go to the museum So it's like this Moog museum, and because he used to have the Moog factory there, because that's where Bob Moog was living for a really long time. And like a few days before this, I found out Gary had been invited there to like do an interview and for a tour. And so I thought they had invited like the band and like everyone was going to go. And so we were invited. And then the day we actually went, it ended up just being me, Gary, and his daughter going to this museum, because it was like Glenn couldn't go because he was working on other stuff. And then the band, I don't know. I don't remember what was going on, but it was like during everyone's sound check time. So we got to go down and it was really cool. So they interviewed Gary, but we got this like private tour of the museum. So for me, that was like the highlight of the whole tour. It was pretty cool. I could have spent all day in there, but then I had to go back and sound check for Tremours. So
what is Gary like? What's something that people may not realize?
He's a really nice guy. He kind of keeps himself to himself, but he plays a very straight bat. I don't know if that's an expression you use in America, it's from like cricket, but so if he doesn't like you, he will tell you he doesn't like you. He's not one to pretend. So what you get from him is very honest. Like if he will say he doesn't like a song or he doesn't like this but equally he'll always say, I like this and this is good. So yeah, he's a really nice, honest, down to earth bloke.
Lauren, you get a email or a phone call from Gary Numan who wants you to support. I mean, what does that feel like?
Well, so like I definitely woke Glenn up because I think I saw it in the morning, because I think it was from Gary, who was in the UK at the time. I mean, I think I woke Glenn up and he just was like, whoa, okay. But we had sort of, like Glenn said, we had done those dates with him late last year. So it wasn't like unexpected. I mean, it was unexpected in a way, but we were pretty excited. And
I got a quote here for you too, and it goes like this: memories warm you up from the inside, but they also tear you apart.
that's Kafka on the Shore, Murakami.
Yes, very nice. So, Glenn, let's go back a little bit and how it all came together for this band, for you two. What do you remember most vividly about those late night jam sessions during lockdown? And what was going on for you emotionally at that time, if you can recall?
Lauren had a room upstairs that we're in now that has a view of downtown. It's got windows, which is really rare for a rehearsal studio. But I shared a room downstairs with Jimmy, who's Gary's drummer, and he's also the drummer with Electric Six. We've been friends for years. So we had a room downstairs with no windows, and it was like a bunker. And so this was during lockdown, during COVID, but the rehearsal studio stayed open. I mean, I said this the other day and it didn't go down very well. I actually quite liked lockdown. And I'm quite an extrovert. I like talking to people. I'm a little bit of a social butterfly. I will sit at a bar and just strike up a conversation. So I'm really social. But yeah, during lockdown, I just really enjoyed having time to myself and just having time to think. And I read loads of books. I started doing art again. I rode my bike everywhere. It was in LA. It was great because I was riding my bike and there was nothing on the road. It was brilliant. I kept riding to the sea, to Manhattan Beach. It was great. But just jamming it was a really good outlet, basically, because before we'd been in bands, Lauren and I had both split up just before COVID. We'd both come out of relationships and it was good to just play with someone. I have jammed with, I hate that expression, but I have played with people my entire life. But sometimes when you have a jam, it's just like, you're just playing all the riffs that you always play. They're playing a riff. You don't really get a connection. And it felt like Lauren and I were actually coming up with songs and it was connecting more than just having a jam. And it was just a really good outlet at the time. Plus being in that bunker without any windows, it was like being in this protective little womb. It was really hot in there. And we were doing stuff like, do you remember when we got those 2 drum kits together? So we just started playing drums, like double drums. I've got this thing. It's a Yamaha EAD 10. It's kind of like a guitar pedal for acoustic drums. It's amazing. So we recorded stuff through that, and yeah, we were just playing music that we wanted to play. There was nothing about let's do this to get big and let's do this to get a record contract. It was just playing music for us, which is maybe the first time in years that I've done that without some goal or, we got to do it. It was just playing music to make us happy. Lauren was playing all her shoegaze stuff. I was doing my best not to make shoegaze music, so try and annoy Lauren, and it just clicked. Yeah, it was great. It was a good outlet during lockdown.
Sounds like it. And for you, Lauren, how do you feel about the uncertainty of that crazy time period that shaped kind of the emotional tone of Tremours music?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what Glenn said. I think on top of us both, having like a big life change outside of COVID, I think I was also at the time just kind of like learning to be by myself again. Like I had lived with someone else since like my early 20s. And so a lot of that was like, you have like total freedom and intellectually just any time. So I think I was making a lot of music in my apartment as well. And just, there was no input from anyone because I was, living on my own, just doing stuff. So I don't think, even when you live with someone and you're making music, they might come over or talk or chat. I don't know. And so when Glenn and I jammed together, or when we first started kind of bouncing like song ideas back and forth, it was like, this is the first person to hear this. And I haven't talked to anyone or been around anyone for a bit because it's COVID. So it felt really fresh, but also really just uninfluenced other than like our own musical influences we have. And it felt, just kind of a raw, like a bit emotional. And that's where all the kind of loneliness themes come from. But yeah, it was just different. It was a different music making process for me than I've ever had.
And Glenn, you had mentioned collaborating with other artists for a long, long time. For this particular project, what did you want to express that previous band experiences didn't or couldn't?
Lots of bands that I played in, especially in the UK, well, here as well, I seem to be replacing drummers. So I was in a band called Cherubs, who were all caught up in the Libertines kind of scene, but that was replacing a drummer, and his name was Glenn with 2 N's. So I think that was part of why I replaced him. But I mean, it was a Norwegian band, so I look a little bit, I've got blonde hair. So yeah, I was in that, and I was in Tim Benson replacing a drummer, and then I came to America and I was replacing drummers. So yeah, it was just nice to do something from the ground up and have a little bit of ownership to the music. Like, this is my music. I am playing this how I want to play. I'm writing these parts how I think they should go. So I'm not against replacing drummers, obviously, because I've done it loads of times. But there's just something freer about writing songs and playing it exactly as you want. Because some other songs, when you replace drummers, you're in and they're like, yeah, I like what you're doing there, but you have to do it how it is on the record. So yeah, that was really good. I enjoyed that. And then Lauren just has a go at me for playing wrong parts. And it's like, do you know what? Are you a drummer? And there we take it from there.
And Lauren, what about for you in terms of wanting to project something different from other band experiences?
I mean, I think kind of inherently the whole thing was different for me because I'd never sang in a band or for anything before. And then like I've played guitar in other projects and stuff, but it's never like, same thing Glenn's saying, it's never really been our own band. It's always with like a couple other bandmates, and the writing process is really different because we kind of would get together at rehearsal and write songs together. But because it's Glenn and I are just two people, we would kind of write separately and then come together after. And so I don't know, the whole thing was different. I didn't even know, I think initially when we started making these songs, I don't think I knew if I was going to be the one singing, if we were going to add a bass player or add someone that knew how to sing or something. So it was, I don't know, everything was a bit up in the air and undecided when we first started playing together. But it didn't matter because it was COVID. And so at the time, we didn't really have any plans to even exist again outside of our rehearsal space, So it was just, I don't know that we made this band thinking we were going to be playing shows or doing things. Like, it was really just we're making music together because there's nothing else to do right now. But we were excited about it. I don't mean it to sound...
I totally understand. Here's another quote by Stevie Nicks. She said this: "Artists are influenced by everything around them, by their lives, lovers, losses, and dreams." I want to start talking about your sound and influences. I mentioned earlier that I was an elementary school teacher for many years, and I used to pull from actors, and it would somehow imbue inside me and then manifest itself whilst teaching. Lily Tomlin, Robin Williams was a huge influence for me. So a nice amalgamation. Your music seems to pull from different genres: shoegaze, jazz, electronica, perhaps some literature there. Glenn, how do all these influences kind of coexist within the songwriting process?
I think I was lucky with how I was brought up and taught about music and about drumming. And all the teachers that I've had, drum teachers, music teachers, have all said the same thing. If you're just going to sit in a rehearsal room all day, I know drummers that do it and they're great. They're really great. But all my teachers have said, you're not going to get any influences. You're going to end up sounding like someone who is sat in a room just playing drums. So some people would say, go for a walk. Don't even play the drums today. Go to the sea. That is your practice. So I had a really good drum teacher, and then I went to music college in London, and you were taught at music college to be the best drummer that you could be. So all our lessons started late because our course leader said, you're in London. I would rather you go out to Ronnie Scott's till 3 o'clock in the morning and then come in here and lessons start at 1. And I'd rather you go and see world-class musicians and get inspired and come here. And then I went to this arts college, which is closed down now. It's called Bretton Hall. It's a very small, it was a very small university, but it was an arts college. And the whole thing there was about being the best musician you could be or the best artist. So they had a lake. It's in a sculpture park. So you're surrounded by Henry Moore sculptures in the middle of nowhere in this mansion house with a lake. And they had a whole thing that if you were ever bored in any of your lectures, you didn't have to ask. You could just stand up and walk out of the lecture, but you had to walk around the lake to refresh yourself spiritually. And if you ever wanted to join in any other lesson, you could do that. So we had, this guy was really cool. He was from Africa. I can't remember what country he's from, but he's from Africa, and he played the kora. Have you ever heard the kora? It's a beautiful instrument. It's got like a gourd and a really long neck and like 3 strings, and you play it with stones. It's like a plectrum, but with stones. Beautiful. His name is Tunde Jagade. And he was great. But then he started talking about how his main influence with music was Pythagoras' theorem, and it got really complicated. I'm not very good with maths, and I was like, I can't fucking handle this. So I left, and there was an art gallery next door. So I just wandered into the art gallery, and a bloke came up and said, like, who are you? And I said, oh, I'm a student from next door. Should I not be here? And he said, oh no, we're just setting up this exhibition. Do you want me to just show you round quickly? So this guy was just showing me round, and it was all like rocks in circles and really cool fonts on the wall and everything. And it got to the end, and I was like, right, I've got to go now. I've got a composition class. And he said, oh, nice to meet you. My name's Richard. And I said, all right, great. My name's Glenn. Thank you very much. This is really cool. It like kind of blew my mind. And I was thinking about this exhibition loads of time. And it was Richard Long. So I don't know if you know Richard Long, but it was him setting up his exhibition in the gallery in my university next door. But then I'd think about that. And I always think about maps in my head when I'm writing songs. I want it to be a map. But then just thinking about Richard Long setting up these things with stones, it inspired me to play differently in the drums. I know it sounds ridiculous, but yeah, you have to take parts from all your life. You think, okay, Richard Long's just done this walk through the Himalayas. How would that sound on the drums? Yeah. I know it's a very abstract thing, but you're not physically like, this is his footstep, but you just try and get in his headspace. And I think about that quite a lot. Or if you've read a book and there's a really cool passage, like I'm obsessed with Up in the Old Hotel by Joseph Mitchell. I was reading that during lockdown as well. It's all old stories of New York, and it's kind of try and get the atmosphere from these songs or the atmosphere from that art.
That is a great story, and I think that segues beautifully into my next question for Lauren. Speaking of influences, are there any particular books, movies, visual artists that inspires the atmosphere and feel and vibe of Tremours?
I think Murakami is one of them for sure. In that kind of well, first I love cats, so cats always are like in there themed with some magical like realism. Like right before lockdown, I was going up to San Francisco a lot because I was rehearsing with this other band. Yeah, and so I spent a lot of time at City Lights because basically I would go up for the weekend and like rehearse. We would just have these like marathon rehearsals, and every now and then like Sunday mornings, my bandmate would have something to do, like family stuff he had to do, and so he would just drop me off in the city and then pick me up a few hours later and we'd go to the rehearsal space. But so I spent a lot of time there. And before Farrell Getty died, I was reading a lot of poetry and, you know, that kind of, I'd never really experienced that like beat culture. So I was getting kind of into that. And I had just left this like 9-to-5 job and we were getting ready to go on tour in Europe. So I felt kind of different. Like I was changing paths and kind of just not grounded. This is before COVID, but just I felt like I was kind of living in this little dream world. And it was really foggy there all the time. Just everything was weird. And I was walking around with myself a lot. And I had like specifically come across this Farrell Getty quote where he is talking about like mock those who tell you you're living in a dream world, dream your own reality, and then camp out on the shores of reality. And so I always think of with Tremours, like we're kind of camping out on the shores of reality. Like we can see everything that's real around us, but I kind of, and you know, Glenn always is like, you're living in a dream and not like that. But I try to stay in that dream world, but in view of reality a lot. And we have to be, because that's how, you know, the industry side of music is. We have to be on it and have, you know, we don't have a manager or any of that. So we have to do all that stuff ourselves. But I try not to like lose sight of what makes like our music and our art, which is that we're not always living in reality, you know. So that, I don't know if that really answers the question, but
it sure does. And sometimes when I listen to Fragments, I personally get this feeling that if David Lynch were still alive, he would really appreciate your music because the way it's textured and layered and for its dreamlike quality.
I will also just second on that and say, like, before we made this band, one of my dreams was always to have a band that was that played at the Roadhouse in Twin Peaks, or that was on it, you know, like. So when we made this, and David Lynch was still alive then, but I was like, man, if they ever make like another Twin Peaks season, like, I really hope that he hears this and wants us to play there, which is ridiculous, but
rest in peace, Mr. Lynch. So, yeah. Glenn, I want you to imagine you're sitting at your drum kit. And I used to be a drummer, nothing like what you can do. One of my favorite pieces to the drum kit was always the ride cymbal. So 2 questions for you. When you are playing the drums, what is that one piece that you just love? And 2, how much improvising goes into your recordings or live performances?
So I'm kind of a little bit obsessed with cymbals. I've always loved Paiste, and then luckily, a few years ago, Paiste endorsed me, so great. I love it. So yeah, my ride cymbal it's a Masters, Paiste Masters, but it's got this coating underneath. It's like a signature cymbal, so it's still very bright, but this coating underneath means that it doesn't ring out, but you can smack it and it gives you so much texture. You can use it in so many songs, so many different things. I love that ride cymbal. But Josh Freese was talking about this the other day. So he switches cymbals during a gig because he always says, this ride cymbal is perfect for this song. And he said, well, hang on a minute. I've got a drum tech. The guitarist swaps his guitar all the time with a guitar tech. Why can't I swap cymbals? You never see drummers do that. And then when he said that, I just need to get a drum tech and then I'm going to be swapping out cymbals. But I also love snare drums. Obsessed with snare drums. There's so many sounds on a snare drum. You don't always have to keep the snare on. So there's a few of our songs that I take the snare off. The snare drum sounds beautiful without the snares on. And the rims are great. I love Stuart Copeland, so I'm obsessed with exploring the rims and different sticks, different beaters. I've got that junk hat that I play in the second song. So I do actually take my hi-hat off and I put this thing called the junk hat on for affectations, which is, it's like a bin lid on the bottom and it's wood with loads of chains and stuff on the top. I love it. The only problem is that bloody thing steals the show from me. Every gig, no one comes up at the end and says, hey, I love your drumming. It's always like, hey, what was that thing you put on? I was like, stupid. I love it, but I'm going to have to stop using it because I'm not, an inanimate object is stealing the show from me. But it sounds great. What was the second part of the question?
How much improvising do you do during a live performance?
Not a great deal because I monitor everything myself as well. So in my ears, I've got Lauren's guitar, Lauren's vocals, my drums, a click because we played to the backing track and the backing track. So I'm a little bit restricted that I can't go too far off because otherwise I'll lose the click. But so Lauren hasn't got the click. So sometimes Lauren goes off at a tangent and it is absolutely terrifying because I can't go with her and I've got it in my ear and it's like, great, Lauren's like 3 bars out now. This is going to be a car crash. I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to stare at her, sometimes shout at her on stage. But sometimes I can improvise, circulate. The last song that we do that's really long, I can improvise on that. The recording from Fragments was a bit weird. So Stay Strange, I think I've only ever played that song twice and it was in the studio. I wasn't really a big fan of Stay Strange. I know that's going to be, we're going to get a massive sync for that because we always share songwriting royalties. And for some reason, that song was really pissing me off. So I said to Lauren, do you know what? You can have more songwriting royalties because I don't like this song. We literally did it twice in the studio. So I improvised that whole song. I've only ever played it twice in my life. So that was an improvisation. And lots of the songs on Fragments, we hadn't really finished working out when we recorded it. So they sound totally different to how they do when we play live. I listened to it the other day and I was like, what was I playing? I can't work out what I was playing on a couple of songs. So yeah, there is improvisation, but live, it's kind of a little bit different, little bit difficult. I would love one day for us to have a keyboard player, maybe a bass player, and get rid of the backing tracks and the click. So then we can go off on jams. But at the moment, it makes so much more sense for us to be a duo.
Lauren, what's your favorite part of playing the guitar and what role does guitar play in your songwriting process?
I'm really into the sounds, not so much like, I guess, my playing exactly. I'm not really like a very technical player, but I do like to spend a lot of time with sounds. And so it's not necessarily musical. Like I really like 2-stroke dirt bikes. So sometimes I'm like, man, I wish my guitar could sound like a little chainsaw or a 2-stroke bike or something right now. And so I try to emulate a lot of sounds that I hear, which I guess would be easier with just synth, but I like the feeling of playing guitar as opposed to turning knobs or hitting keys on a keyboard. So yeah, it's just a fun instrument to play. It's fun, standing on stage with a guitar is really cool. And then I have this new ES335 that I just got, which I love because it's got like this hollow body. So it does this really cool tonal feedback and stuff. I brought it on the last tour with us, but yeah, I'm more like a sound player, I guess. I spend a lot of time with pedals getting my sound before I even know like what we're going to play, and like a lot of our songs are quite minimal. Like at least the playing is. I might not be playing that many notes, but it's more about like getting a lot of feeling in it and, more telling a story like sonically than it is technical playing, I guess.
Do you ever play on an acoustic guitar?
Sometimes, like we have one at our house, and I had for years I had an acoustic guitar. I do, and I I used to like playing on it a lot because the action was really like a lot higher and harder to play than my electric guitar. So I would play things and work out songs on acoustic guitar, not so much for Tremours, but with other projects I've played in. And then when you go and switch to electric, it's like so solid. I'm playing really well because your fingers are like really exercised. It's like playing with 2B drumsticks and then going and playing with Glenn's little 7As or whatever he plays with. I'm just kidding. But like, I'm kidding. But like, you know what I mean? It's like strength training a bit. And so I used acoustic more for that. But with Tremours particularly, I only use acoustic guitar with Tremours when I'm actually trying to work out song lyrics and things. It's not so much when I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to play on guitar, because I really think so much of what I play is shaped by the sounds that I'm getting, like the actual pedals. And like sometimes I'll get this sound with some pedals and I'm like, whoa, I'm going to make a song around this. So I don't necessarily like write songs on acoustic guitar, but I will write lyrics and I will write like vocal melodies with acoustic guitar for Tremours.
Got it. Henry Rollins says this: loneliness adds beauty to life. It puts a special burn on sunsets and makes night air smell better. Lauren, you had mentioned that some of these songs center around loneliness, but not sadness. That's a pretty big statement. What do you mean by that? Can you expand on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to being in COVID time and also just living alone for the first time in a long time. And I think you might write differently. I did at least write songs differently when you're just totally by yourself. And it's not just that, but it's like, I don't know that people are meant to be that alone. Like I actually enjoy it sort of in a way. Like I like being on my own, but it is like a strange feeling. I don't know. It's not sadness, but it is definitely, there's something missing, And so I think that really shaped a lot of Fragments, especially the first songs we wrote, like Burn, The Ribbon. There's a few songs that are just really solitary, I guess. Not sad, but definitely lonely, and learning to be alone, I think, is really like the theme there.
Yeah. So with this feeling of loneliness, if you will, do you think you two, with regards to Tremours music and creating the music, you're going into this idea of somewhat isolation? Are you running from it? What's kind of your approach? And that question goes to either one of you.
I lived in New York for a long time, and one of my favorite things to do if I had like a day off, or even if I just got off work, was like not get on the train immediately, but walk from wherever I was in the city, like a few miles, and then get on the train there and have headphones. And so you're not lonely because you're in a city with like millions of people and you're on crowded streets, but you're in your headphones and you're listening to music, and whatever you listen to, then it's like, it is this sort of like private moment in the middle of like loads of people. And so I think that is a kind of loneliness, but like a loneliness you sort of treasure, where you're like, I'm the only one experiencing this right now. And that's kind of how I hoped like these songs would be, is like something you want to listen to like on your own. It would be comforting in a way, but also like motivating, I guess. like you're like, I'm doing this. I'm okay. Everything's fine. Everyone else is like spinning around and doing things and I'm just like having my moment. But yeah, I don't know if that's loneliness. It's just like a feeling I really like.
The last 2 to 3 years, there's been a lot of talk about social media and this notion of loneliness. Do you two buy into that?
I would love to see the end of social media tomorrow. I mean, I'm on Instagram and I got off Twitter because I just wanted to kill everyone on there, just getting at arguments. It's like Twitter was like being in the most annoying bar you've ever been in, and the door's locked and you can't get out, and you got to talk to this idiot next to you, and you're like, mate, I don't want to talk to you anymore. And he keeps talking. I hate it. But I did join Blue Sky, which is Blue Sky's a lot nicer. If you're going to have a model for social media, I would say Blue Sky is it. You can still have arguments with people, but when you say, look, I don't agree with you, most people back off. So I quite like that. But yeah, I can see how social media, it just riles you up. I mean, Instagram, no one puts up photos of them rolling out of bed not feeling very good. It's all like, hey, this is me on a private jet. It's like, you're not on a private jet. What are you talking about? This is me with loads of money. You haven't got loads of money. You work in a coffee shop. Just like own it. Show that everyone your job, or show that you're not happy. But no one does that. It's all this. Everyone feels like they have to compete, and everyone has to have a really good job, and everyone has to be happy. And you can see how it drives depression and loneliness, because everyone pick up your phone every day. Oh, this bloke's having a much better life than me. It's like, I mean, when I went to university, no one had camera phones. No one was really on social media that much. It was great. We used to go into the woods. We used to go in the forest. We used to get up to all sorts. I'm glad there wasn't social media then. No one thought about it. So social media is supposed to bring people together, but it doesn't. It just drives people apart. And this is going off at a tangent a little bit, but I'm sure other musicians have said it. I don't want to be a content creator. I want to be a musician. I want to go and play drums. Half our time that we spend on tour and not on tour is putting up bloody videos, and Lauren constantly said, no, let's do this again. Let's do this reel again. I don't want to do that. I want to play music. I want to go and experience stuff. But it feels like we have to, as musicians now, everyone has to. You have to update your Instagram, and you have to update threads, and there's this new thing. We have to do this. Oh my God. But now it feels like everyone just accepts that's what you have to do. That's the thing. And if we could get this out of everyone's lives, it would be a lot easier and everyone would be a lot happier. But I can't see it happening anytime soon. We'll see. Hopefully there'll be a collective. This is bollocks. I thought it was happening with Twitter, but I don't know. Yeah, I can absolutely see how social media drives loneliness in an unhappy way, not in a positive way.
You're not alone with those sentiments, my friend. I have spoken to many musicians, artists, where they echo those sentiments. Absolutely.
Yeah, it just grinds you down after a while. It's like,
yes, that's the perfect word. Yeah, absolutely. Lauren, do you want to share anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think like we feel pretty differently about it. I do get really frustrated when we have to post things. We haven't posted anything from Tremours since we got back from this tour. I think like we haven't really like done an update. We did do a photo shoot last night, and so we'll have some new stuff, but we've kind of taken a step back from it. I think we post things when it's natural and convenient. Like we're not really over editing posts. It's really just like what we're doing on the road, or if we get photos from a photographer at a show, we'll post those, things like that. But like personally, I don't really personally use Instagram. I use it for like music stuff. And I think I've fallen into like a pretty good little like category with sounds and stuff. So I like work with pedal companies will send me stuff, and like a couple different brands and stuff, and they'll send me things to try out. And so I'm not really using it to post personal things, but I'll try out some new pedal or thing. And it's something I want to do anyway. You know, I have these understanding with them that they just like that it's raw and that I'm just trying it for the first time. It's not like those pedal demo videos where they're really produced or anything. It's just like me in our rehearsal space, and I usually go film it in like half an hour or less. But I get to try a bunch of new gear and things, and my algorithm is not, I don't use Twitter or any of those like Glenn platforms. So mine is all kind of visual and sound. So like most of what I'm seeing aside from like cat videos is other musicians like trying different things. So I've found a lot of cool gear and a lot of like cool small companies, like especially pedal companies through that. And so right now I'm okay with it. I actually like it. I like the content I'm getting from it, but I don't use it in a personal way. I don't post personal stuff on there, and I don't interact with people the way Glenn does on Twitter and stuff. So I'm okay.
I have got a Instagram account called...
I've got a book in my hand. It's written by the great PhD writer, Brene Brown. She likes to talk about courage and vulnerability. And I got a quote here. She says this: trust is earned in the smallest of moments. It is earned not through heroic deeds or even highly visible actions, but through paying attention, listening, and gestures of genuine care and connection. So let's talk about trust here. So you two just on stage during a live performance. How big is trust? And I'd love for either of you to speak to that.
Well, there's a lot of trust between the two of us, but I think we're so used to playing the set that we have right now and playing together and it just being the two of us that sometimes we can play an entire set and not really even look at each other. Like we know exactly what's happening, especially like halfway through the tour when we played the same set every night. A lot of it is like, I know Glenn has this click in his ear. And so if something's off, like it can happen and there's not really a way to recover from it. Luckily, I don't think it's ever properly like fallen apart, but there's a lot of trust between the two of us in that sense. But then in just another way, which is like, I get a bit nervous on stage sometimes in certain rooms. And so Glenn's always like, look at me. But then there's sometimes where Glenn's really mad at me. And so like if I've messed something up and I could see it on his face, so I won't look at him. We've had a few of those nights where I'm like, I can feel Glenn glaring at me right now. But it doesn't really destroy any trust. I think like I've never been in a 2-piece band. So I think that's like something really unique aside from being in a relationship or any of that. But there's two of us and that's all there is, so there's a different dynamic and a different level of trust when there's two people that I think we kind of fall into. Maybe, I'm not sure. Maybe Glenn has a totally different opinion, but
I've played in quite a few 2-piece projects. I did a few in Britain. I did a few here before Tremours. I like it. There's no hiding place. So I've been in bands with 4 guitarists and you can get away with fluffing notes and no one's going to hear. You're fine. When there's 2 of you, you have to trust each other because one of you makes a wrong note. Lauren plays a wrong note, which she does frequently. Everyone hears it. Everyone knows. So yeah, you have to trust that other person, that they are going to be there at the right time or they're going to play the right thing. Otherwise, the whole thing is going to fall apart and it's going to be a nightmare. Yeah. So yeah, there is a lot of trust. And I do stare at Lauren quite a lot because I can hear her going out or just, she's going to go to this wrong place. My God. And then I have to trust that Lauren's going to look at me and know what my stare means. And she's going to have to get back to where she is. Or if I go out somewhere, which is very rare, I don't think this has ever happened. But if I go out, I need to look at Lauren and know that she's going to be there waiting for me at this certain point. It's like an unwritten telepathic ESP kind of look of trust. And right, okay, we're going to get to that next verse and then we're going to be okay. You have to trust that other person knows what your look means. And 9 times out of 10, we do. I'll just like to refer Lauren to Numbers in Houston when she says nothing's gone wrong. I'd just like her to think about that.
Okay. So Lauren, I have spoken to couples that have played together, and I've heard sometimes that when there's a conflict before the show, somehow, some way, they are able to just push it aside. They play their set, and they go back to being a happy or frustrated couple. Should that happen to you too? Can you just do that and push those personal feelings aside? Get through the set, reset, anything like that.
Cleveland. Go for it.
I also can't remember Cleveland, but was that on this tour?
Yes. You played the whole set with your back to me.
Oh, that was a technical thing. So Cleveland finished, sorry. So we, at that show was the first night. So we had, for this tour, Gary's monitor guy, Mike, was doing sound for us, and it was awesome. So he was doing our like front of house sound every night. And he got ill on the road, and so he did not do our sound in Cleveland. And so we had like the house guy, which, you know, they've never heard our band, so who knows what they're going to want from us. But every night, like the way you saw us in Menlo Park, was we sort of angle in and face each other, which is like, I think normal for a two-piece. Like we can see each other, and I don't need to stand in the middle of the stage. Like we like to each be on the other sides anyway. So we were setting up like that, and the sound guy in sound check was like, "You can't set up like this. This is crazy because your mic is facing this." And you know, he was not really bothered. He didn't want to like do anything. You know, he didn't want to work for us. He just wanted us to set up a certain way. So the only way for me to get my mic not to be facing my amp, which was behind me, was to angle the other way or move my amp the other way. But it was this whole thing. So I had angled, and also he didn't want to move the wedge. So I'm the only one that uses a wedge, and on the stage he wanted it on that side. So I was like, well, I guess I'm facing this way. And Glenn had already set up his drums, and they were facing that way. So I was like, all right, so Glenn is angled towards me, and I'm angled away from Glenn. And it was actually really uncomfortable because I could feel Glenn staring at me behind me, but I couldn't turn around and look at him because I'm always, when I'm singing, I can't get away from the mic and look at him. So the entire set, I did not see Glenn's face. I could feel his expressions, but I could not see his face. And it was, we did have an argument right before that. So in addition to us being angry with each other or whatever, we weren't looking at each other, and it was a really uncomfortable, like the whole set was really uncomfortable. And I don't think it sounded good out front also, but that might have not been in our control. But anyway.
I would say your mic was angled at your amp, so all I could get in my ear was your guitar, and it was so loud. And then you were a bit short with the sound guy, who I thought was all right. I've seen videos. We sounded all right out front. We had a massive argument, and you went on stage. You weren't even talking to me, and you played with your back to me, and I smacked the shit out of my drums that night. And both of us thought it didn't sound that good. But I've seen videos, it did sound good. But that's the only time I think we've gone on stage and I've been like, and we were like, we got to do this gig. We can't, there's no not doing the gig. So it's like, coming in, it was like, I don't know if, you know, if couples, you have to go to a dinner party, you go into someone's dinner party, but they might not be that close friends. So you have to show up and put this face on and like, hi, and you've just had a massive Barney at home, and you just want to go home and smash plates, but you have to be like, hi everyone. So yeah, I mean, it's the beauty of the drums. You just smack the shit out of the drums, and then you feel better afterwards.
Well, that's what I heard from another couple. They said during their row, they actually performed at a higher level. There was emotional intensity. And, you know, I appreciate what you're sharing. And maybe some people are thinking, oh, I'm a little uncomfortable hearing this, but I love this because I feel like you're being extremely authentic. Like, of course you would have, I mean, you're with each other all the time. This is kind of what you do for love and passion, all that. It cannot be perfect all the time. That would be silly.
Yeah.
Well, I would add to that too, that like, I think it doesn't matter that it does matter a bit that you're in a relationship because you're comfortable with each other, but you get in arguments with anyone on tour. Like every tour, there's arguments, whether you're in a romantic relationship or not. It's just like a really high stress environment where everyone's exhausted and you're playing a show every night. And this last tour was like especially rough with the scheduling and stuff. So it's like, you don't really take it to that level of like, oh, we're sharing this candid thing. Whatever we were arguing about had nothing to do with anything with our relationship. It was actually like just music stuff, but it is like you're so comfortable with the people and anyone you tour with because you're with them 24/7 that you just get in arguments and you get on with it.
Yes. I mean, it was particularly on edge for that tour because Mike is an absolute audio genius. So when he would sound check us, he would get everything dialed in so quick. He never saved scenes. Every venue, it was like, bass drum, biggest bass drum I've heard in my life. Dance, snare, and he used my EAD, and it just sounded amazing. But then when he had to leave the tour, we were a man down. So Kyle, who was a drum tech, has got experience of sound. So then for Gary, he stepped up and did monitors. And then Jimmy didn't have a drum tech, and I have drum tech for Jimmy before. So as well as supporting, I was drum teching as well. And then we didn't have a front of house guy. So it just got very stressful,
Yeah.
but not in a totally bad way. It was like me and Lauren knew we didn't have Mike out there, so we have got to play really well. We've got to be together. Like when you saw us, that was the house guy. So we knew things maybe wouldn't sound as we were used to, as Mike would do it. So yeah, stress levels were high, but not in a bad way. It's just, sometimes stress makes you concentrate.
Absolutely. Yeah. Prince says this: your identity is your most valuable instrument. Protect it. So, Lauren, if you wouldn't mind speaking to this idea of being a duo, and how do you feel that this two-person lineup makes the music more emotionally direct?
I mean, there's a lot more space to fill, both sonically and I think energy-wise and emotionally. Live, there's a lot. You have the whole stage to fill, And Glenn's sat behind drums, so he's not running around, and I'm usually stuck by the mic. So, and I've got my pedal board, so I'm not moving around the stage very much. So I think kind of all we have sometimes is the emotion we put into things. There's a few songs like Port Children in particular. I've noticed like I have to be really calm when we play that song. And it's an easy song to like the drums are really resonant and he's using these mallets, and it's a really easy song to feel like you want to rush or get into. And I have to like I don't know how to say it, but like to be as calm as possible and be as emotional as possible at the same time. And I think if you can be really still on stage in a room full of like 1,500 people and be really still in that song, and there's two of us on stage, it's really powerful. You're like, I'm not moving around. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be awkwardly still. And Glenn's playing mallets. And like, if you can do that and stay really calm, the song feels totally different. And even in just our rehearsal room, I've noticed that like when we rehearse that song, it can sound absolute shit if it's not being locked in. It's just like there's this really weird undertone where I have to be really calm and focused, or like almost focused on nothing. But I think a lot of our songs are like that. There's a different emotion there that somehow does come out, because I've seen videos of it, but it's like really an internal thing, because it's not physical. You're not moving around. It's not physical, and there's no one else on stage. So I think that when we play really well and people say like, oh, that was really powerful, or I didn't move during your set, I was like really entranced, which like happened a lot on this tour. I think it's like this locking in emotionally that two people, can pull off that you can't do in like a 3 or 4 piece band.
That was one song that Mike, I don't know what Mike did on the sound, but every time he did sound for that, it was huge. Because we go straight from that into Dark Glasses, and making Port Children as huge as Mike did it. It was fragile, but massive. It was great. I love Mike. He's a genius. He's like the secret third member when we were doing this tour, when he was there. He's better now, by the way. So he's all right.
Hats off. I used to talk quite a bit in the classroom with my 4th and 5th graders about core values and trying to espouse these ideas that we can all kind of work towards. So tell us, what are some core values that you feel, Glenn, holds this Tremours project experience together?
Just, I mean, without being really basic, I've always been brought up to just don't be a dick. Just think about other people, and just don't be a dick is my core value. Is just all this crap that's going on around the world about I'm better than you and I'm going to do this just to upset that other person. It's like, what is that about? Yeah. I remember in like the late 90s, it seemed like we were in a perfect world. Everyone was getting on. I mean, there were still wars and disagreements, but it seemed like in Britain, everyone was getting on. Everyone was talking about the environment. Everyone was protecting everyone else. It was great. I don't know what happened, but yeah, just don't be a dick and think about other people, especially band-wise, like we've been saying. There's 2 of us. You can't just go out and be I'm going to be Terry Bozzio tonight, because how's that going to work? Lauren can't just go out and pull off a guitar solo and slide along the stage on her knees. Tremours only works because we work together, and you can't be a dick. So that's my core value.
That's a good bumper sticker. I like it. Lauren, what do you think are some other core values?
I think it kind of echoes off of what Glenn's core value kind of like encapsulates everything. But I think it's like respecting other people's art as well. You know, like we're a pretty small band, like really small band. Like when we're in LA, I think we're just like a local band. And when we play other places, it just feels like we're like a guest in someone's city. We come across other artists of all mediums all the time. And even if it's not our thing, like everyone's got totally different tastes. I think it's just like having this mutual respect for everyone that's out there doing what they want to do. And like we've toured with some other bands or played shows when we're on tour with other bands that like, I don't think have that same, you know, it's hard, or maybe just in the moment because it's stressful, like don't always have that same mentality. And it makes a huge difference. You know, we've played with bands that we totally don't fit with that are like, neither one of us probably like each other's music, but there's this mutual respect there and we all get on as friends. Or like we've had like great nights before where we're like, wow, this was really cool. We'll probably never play together again in this, but like I really respect that you're out there. Like it's no one's making money, or not very many of us at all are making money doing this. And it's like all we really have is this like creation that we've made. And it's like if we can't respect ourselves and respect the other people that are also doing it, it's like then what's the point, you know? So I think with Tremours, it's like we really, and it's hard when you're stressed. Sometimes you just want to like be rude. Like if someone else is being rude in another band, you want to be rude back to them, or you feel like, what's their deal? And it's like, I don't know. There's just this can easily be a negative energy. And I think part of what Tremours is like, we have to remember we are a small band, and all we can really do is like project this respect we could have for other artists. So we try to remind ourselves of that a lot, even when it's tough.
Sure.
Part of that respect thing is something that was drummed into me doing my music degree. There is no such thing as bad music or shit music. So if you hear something and say, I don't like that, that music is rubbish, or that song is rubbish, for someone in the world, that might be a life-saving song or bit of music. So everything, you've just got to remember, music is 100% subjective. All art is 100% subjective. So it's, in your opinion, this band might be rubbish. It's not for you. For someone else, it's the best thing in the world. And I love that about music. No one is right. No one is wrong. And just remember that. And then you'll have respect for everyone. Like Lauren was saying, you could be playing with this band and you think, this is the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. And then someone will go up to their merch table afterwards and say, hey, this is amazing. Me and my wife got together listening to this song. So you've just always got to take that. Always remember that music is great. And yeah, just have mutual respect.
Speaking of great songs, can we talk about a few here? The Ribbon. Oh my goodness. I have played this song so many times. I'm sure my girlfriend is so tired of me playing it. It is a tremendous lead-off song. When I saw you play this song live, I mean, it took my breath away. So anything you want to share, any insights, any memories from the creation of such a diamond of a tune, go for it. Lauren?
Yeah, we used to always open the set with this song, but this is actually the first song we ever wrote, or together. Like this is the first Tremours song. Well, okay, so not really. I think Burn is the first one we ever really started playing together. But when we first started the project, the way we would do things was like I would record guitar, vocals, usually some synth or something, and like try to get a song as finished as possible. And then I would send it to Glenn and he would sit on his own with it with drums and come up with drum parts. And then we would change a song as a whole, but that's how we did it. And I didn't have names for the songs. So, and this really upset Glenn, but so the songs would be called T1, T2, like Tremours 1, 2. And we have like, I don't know, at some point I stopped naming them that, but this is T1. It almost had no structure. Like this is the most basic song we have. It's just an E. It doesn't quite go anywhere, but it does subtly. And so I do think it's really powerful and I love opening with it. But yeah, it's our least thought out song. I didn't even know that this was going to be a song when we were making it.
I would say it's very thought out on the drum side. Not comparing myself to it, but I was listening to a lot of Jan Garbarek. I don't know if you know Jan Garbarek. He's is he Norwegian? I think he's Norwegian. Sax, and what else does he play? But it's kind of free jazz. He's had people like Manu Katché playing drums for him, Pete Erskine.
Oh, nice.
And it's just very open, intricate little things, but open and free. So that's what I was listening to when we wrote that. So on my side, it is pretty thought out. And going back to a previous question, even though we play this to click, we haven't played it live for a bit, but I can improvise on this. The end bit is never the same. So yeah, I do like playing this song because it's free.
My girlfriend and I were listening to a great indie pop band called The Close Lobsters, like The Wedding Present. And they have written some songs where I think to myself, holy shit, if I recorded and composed that song, I would literally sit there and say, you know what? We wrote a fucking great song here. So Glenn, on this album, do you feel you have some of those in your pocket and go, man, we nailed it?
Dark Glasses.
Yeah.
And that took ages. Well, actually, Dark Glasses and Landing in Rome are the two ones that I'm kind of proud of. But I think Dark Glasses, it took so long to get everything right and to get things to fit. Because I'm playing double time. The way I'm thinking of it is twice as fast as how Lauren is thinking. It happens to lots of our songs, actually, which is why I approach it from a totally different point of view from Lauren. Lauren's all dreamy and like, and I'm very Stuart Copeland-y kind of, come on, let's go. So Dark Glasses was when that all came together, the first time we actually played it as it's recorded, as we play it now. I was like, yes, we have got this. So yeah, I would say Dark Glasses for me.
Lauren, what about for you?
I mean, Dark Glasses for sure. I think my one that maybe I'm just like most surprised that I think we did. Like if I hear it, I'm like, wow, is Circulation Sound, which we end our set with usually. It's different for us, but I think it's like the one that we are both most in our own like element in a way, but outside of what we normally would do. Like I don't know. I just feel like when we play that live together is probably like one of our most true songs. But yeah.
And
mastered this album?
Simon Scott. He's the drummer from Slowdive.
SPS Mastering.
Mm-hmm.
He's sure doing wonderful work with artists and bands.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite bands. So I was like really excited when he was like up for it. So, and I think he's going to master whatever we do next. We stay in touch with him and stuff.
So you reached out to him and just said, hey, would you mind mastering our work here? And that was that.
Yeah, we have some mutual friends, and like I know Neil from Slowdive as well, and our label Little Cloud Records. I think Pete's stuff. There's some other artists on there that I think he might have mastered maybe before us. I can't remember. There's definitely some ties there. I don't remember how it came up initially for him to do it, but when we realized he had a mastering studio and that he was up for it, it was like perfect fit. And he has mastered some of our friends' works, but I can't remember if it was like before ours or after. Yeah, and that's actually another thing. Pete from Dandy Warhols, who has a solo project on our label, is like on half of the record. So it might have come through Pete. I can't remember. I don't know if Glenn, if you remember, but
can't remember. I remember that he's from Cambridge. He's a nice guy. He is a really nice guy. He's a nice guy to talk to. First time we met him, I couldn't actually hear. There was something wrong with my ear and I was kind of deaf. And this was before he mastered it. I just remember we went to see him, where was it? Pomona? And we went backstage after the Slowdive gig and it was like, hey, this is Simon. I couldn't hear a word he was saying. It was one of those, I mean, I'm deaf at the best of times, but you know when someone's talking to you, like, yeah, amazing, yeah. I've got that cat as well. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So even after that, he still mastered this. So that's cool. Yeah, I was really happy with it.
Thank you. James Scott. Who's James Scott?
James is someone we met through the label. He's a close friend with the guy that owns our record label. And he's out of Chicago, and he mixes and masters lots of bands, like friends' bands as well. He also does a lot of stuff with Dandy Warhols and Pete, who's on the record. And so we were in a bit of a bind with mixing because the person was originally going to mix it, had some other stuff come up, and he kind of bailed on us last minute. And we were on a really tight schedule trying to get everything to Simon to master so we could get the record out when it came out. And, Mike at Little Cloud was like, you should talk to my friend James. And James, we sent him the tracks and he really liked it and was like, I will drop everything I'm doing right now and mix this. And which was so cool of him because I know he was super busy and he had a couple other projects going on at the time. And he, just in a couple passes, like back and forth, like most of the songs, like right off the bat, he kind of had the sound of like what we wanted. I mean, I think it's because he mixes a lot of sonically like similar bands, like Dandy Warhols. Not that we sound like them, but just I think he knew what we were going for. And so yeah, James, it was awesome. He killed it. So.
Yeah, it's a hell of a record, and I cannot recommend it enough. And so many great songs from top to bottom shelf. It sounds like you two are very proud of it. Before we wrap up this conversation, I have a few more questions. Glenn, this one is for you. John Dewey says this: we do not learn from experience. We learn from reflecting on experience. So I want you to tell the listeners, if you don't mind, whilst you were younger, any personal challenges while you were growing up that led you to be this musician that you are today? And if so, how did you overcome some of those challenges?
I think personally, so not to get too deep, but my dad had like mental health issues when I was very young, and he ended up in a mental hospital in Portsmouth, which is like everyone used to get bullied. Oh, you're going to go to St. James's. And then your dad is in St. James's when you're like 6 or 7. And then my dad died when I was 8. So I was brought up by my mum on her own, doing like 3 jobs to look after me and my brother. But you didn't realize it when you were growing up, but just got a very kind of, not in a bad way, but a kind of a bolshy attitude. Portsmouth is an island. It's the only island city in Britain as well. It's headquarters of the Royal Navy, and it's got a very kind of us against the world attitude. If someone says in Portsmouth, you can't do something, the Portsmouth attitude is like, yeah, watch this. And especially with the attitude of being brought up by my mum and this whole, you can't do this and you can't do that. And I finished school and I didn't know what to do. My mum said, if you're not going to college, you have to get a job and give us money. So I was like, okay, I'm going to apply to college. I don't really want to go. And I got in and then didn't know what wanted to do after that. And then applied to Bretton Hall, which is really hard to get in. But it was just that whole attitude of, I'm going to do it because people are telling me I can't do this. I'm going to bloody do it. So that's what growing up kind of gave me. That's my personal background. Yeah. If someone says you can't do it, if you really want to do it, yes, you absolutely can. Doesn't mean you're going to be president of America or whatever, but bloody go for it. You can do it. This whole beating people down, I'm not having it. So that's my personal, yeah.
That's your second bumper sticker you just created. Lauren, what about for you?
And I are from similar places, like hence the Poor Children song. So like I'm from South Carolina. So there is like kind of a overall attitude there in the South in general, I think, as like kind of us against the world. And a lot of people like this, I guess this is true with anywhere, but like a lot of people just stay there. And like, a lot of my friends that stayed back have created these really cool, like close knit art communities, and they keep supporting each other and stuff. And so like, I think it's just inherent in some of these types of places where you learn a lot of these like life lessons of like, this is how I'm going to overcome this. And then when I'm stable and doing things, I'm going to like create this, and I'm going to grow. And, I moved to New York when I was like a teenager and from South Carolina. And so that was a struggle on its own, but you're young and I think you just push through and you kind of, it's like, what you want, why you gravitated towards these places and towards the people you're around. And it's like, I think you learned through reflection to stay true to yourself and figure out what you're doing and not stray off that path. And a bit of straying is good because that's where you get all your influence, right? Like, it's not influence if it would have been right in front of you anyway, but you pull all these things together, you get back on your path, and then you create something. And like, I don't think that ever ends. So it's like Tremours is still doing that. Glenn and I are still doing that now. Like, we don't know what we're doing right now. And we're, I don't know, I'm going to be gone for the next few weeks. I'm sure I'll bring tons of weird influence back from whatever I'm doing. And Glenn from just even walking around downtown LA. But you're constantly reflecting and constantly getting over experiences. Maybe we'll write a good song getting over this move we just had because that was traumatic. But like, I don't know. I think it's just staying true, keeping on the path, wherever that is.
Well said, both of you. Let's have a little bit of fun time, yeah? Glenn, what album or albums changed your life when you first heard them? Okay. Can I just guess?
Go on.
I'm just going to guess one.
Go on then.
The White Album by the Beatles.
No.
Okay.
I think part of growing up in Britain is the Beatles. I love the Beatles. I'm not one of those people that slags the Beatles off, but the Beatles are so rammed down your throat at school. We sing them in school assemblies, and it's like they've been deified already in Britain. So I love them, but I've heard those songs so many times. Like we did a tour a while ago, and there was an American guy. So this is another band. It was all British people on the bus, and an American guy. We're listening to music, and the American guy was like, "Hey, so I'm going to put Stone Roses on." And I love the Stone Roses, but I grew up with the Stone Roses. So everyone in Britain who grew up in that era, and an American guy is saying, "Hey, listen to this. This is Fool's Gold." She's like, mate, do you know how many times I've heard this bloody song? It's a great song, but every indie disco I used to go to, song. Anyway, yeah, sorry, getting a bit distracted. So I've got a list. There's not that many, but Massive Attack Protection, huge album. That was when I first left home, I think, and I went to music college in London, giving away my age here, and I went and lived at music college in London. That album has so much depth. It's like a play. to me. If you listen to it all in one go, it's beautiful. It's got feeling. Old Tracy Thorn singing Protection is just like. So I used to live in Kew Gardens, living on my own for the first time. I lived in an architect's house in Kew Gardens. Concorde used to fly over, landing every day. That was so loud. You could turn your stereo up full and you still couldn't hear it. Yeah, Protection, massive for me. And then Andy Weatherall, I absolutely loved Andrew Weatherall. He died a few years ago. He is a musical visionary. I love him. So he did an album called Pox on the Pioneers, and also a band he was in, Two Lone Swordsmen. They did an album called Double Gone Chapel. Or is it Gone? It's Double Gone Chapel. I'm sure it is. Those two albums by Weatherall, anything by Weatherall. He's just so prolific, and yeah, absolute genius. I would love Weatherall to produce or remix us. Sadly, that's not going to happen, but yeah, he is a genius. And then I've got two more. I've only got two more. I'm going to be here all day. Art Blakey live at the Jazz Corner of the World.
Okay.
So when I was younger, I mean, I still wear black pretty much all the time, just all black. But I used to go to Donington Monsters of Rock and loved Pantera, and me and my mates would listen to Metallica. I was like, yeah. And then my drum teacher at the time said, okay, we're gonna learn about jazz. I don't want to know about jazz. My mum said it's not for me, and it's like, that's posh people's music. And then I kind of got into, I want to swing, but when I try to swing, it's ding, 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 ding. And I said to my drum teacher, can you teach me how to swing? And he said, yeah, next week I will teach you how to swing. And he bought me a copy of this Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers live at the Jazz Corner of the World. And he said, there you go. That's your lesson. Oh. So I went home and thought, I got a jazz CD, it was at the time. I got a jazz CD. I don't want to listen to this. And from the first time I put that on, it blew my mind. It's such a good album. It's amazing. I think I've listened to that album more than any other album that I've got. It's so good. And it totally opened my eyes to a whole different genre of music. And yeah, that was my gateway drug into jazz and fusion. And yeah, that album is amazing. Art Blakey! There's a little guy. What was his name? I think his name was Shorty. He was the MC at the Jazz Corner of the World. Anyway, that album's brilliant. And then I was obsessed with this label called Twisted Nerve in the UK. Andy Votel, Badly Drawn Boy set it up. And it's like they didn't care. It was just good music. Most of it wasn't commercial. Badly Drawn Boy made loads of money, brought it back to the label. And there's a guy called Dave Tyack, who was a German guy, lived in Manchester. He was prolific as well, but he was in a band called DOT, and there's an album called Across Shore Cross. Really, really stripped down. Definitely no click track. It's great. Dave Tyack's output is absolutely amazing. And then an honourable mention to Hoganord Records, who are from Gothenburg in Sweden. It's a record label. They do all sorts. Kraut rock. I've got a problem with R's and W's, so that's really hard for me to say. Kraut rock. Electronic stuff. Really deep dub. It's, yeah. Hoganord and Analog Africa. Pretty much anything on those labels. And that's my Desert Island disc.
You gave me some great homework there. Thank you. And our listeners. Lauren?
Right. Well, mine's not going to give you any homework or the listeners, because I'm sure they've heard it, but it would be Psycho Candy for sure. She's a Mary Chain. Like for a number of reasons, have a lot of connections to it. But when I was a teenager, I had a friend that we were like the two shoegaze people, and he would show me lots of music, and he had an older sister. So like we would get all these great CDs, and he was a little older than me as well. So he had moved out of his place, and him and a lot of skateboarder friends would have these parties. And I was like living with my mom, and I got this late night message left on my voicemail one night from him, obviously not sober. And I could tell he had when he left the message, he had like headphones on and he was listening to a CD. And so it was just him singing Never Understand. But full, like I could tell he was listening to it while singing it because he would have the full stops. He'd be like, well, and I was like, what? And the whole song, this was the message. I don't think he even knew he did it. And the next day I was like, what was that song? He's like, what are you talking about? And I had to play it back for him. I was like, what is this? He goes, oh, it's Jesus and Mary Chain. And I went and listened to the whole record, and it was like, my favorite record now. And so it was like my first experience technically with Jesus and Mary Chain. I didn't even hear any of the screaming guitars or anything that they're known for on that record. It was just my friend singing. So, and not well either. He was pretty drunk, but yeah, I don't know. It's my favorite record. And that's my disc.
Well, if I remember from your show in Menlo Park, you actually started with On the Wall.
Yeah, we started most of that tour with On the Wall. Glenn had never heard that song when I was like, I want to cover this. And that we actually covered the demo version of it, like, the early demos they have. So it's in that version, there's no drums, there's no live drums. It's just like Porta Studio demo. And so Glenn refused to listen to it before we started playing it together. So all he had was like my guitar recording of it and vocals and whatever I had put on in the backing track with synth. So like, I don't even know to this day if Glenn's ever heard the actual Jesus and Mary Chain version of that song.
I have, but what is the point of doing a cover version if you're just going to do it like a tribute band? What is the point? It's already been done. You don't have to do it again. So if you're going to cover a song, make it your song. So that's why I didn't want to listen to it before I played it.
It was a gorgeous version, by the way. So thank you for that.
Thank
Glenn,
you.
what's next for the band? What's coming down the line for you guys? You two.
We got to do this difficult second album. We got the shells of a few songs. So going to be good. Lauren's away on tour with LA Witch. She's cheating on me for a bit. So I'm looking forward to just sitting in the studio. I mean, we still write a bit like that. Lauren will send me ideas and then I'll sit on my own. There's nothing worse than a drummer working out what they're going to play for someone else. I always used to hate it being in bands because the guitarist would go, can you do drums to that? And you would just come up with you have to sit down and work it out on your own because to get a really good drum part, I think, it's going to take a while. Unless you're like Vinnie Colaiuta or Tommy Igoe or whatever, you get it like second take. There you go. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
I want to work out what I'm doing. So that's, yeah. The next thing for Tremours is doing this second album and me working the drums and getting a massive record deal, hopefully. Not that Little Cloud aren't good. I just we love Little Cloud, but
Well, Glenn, you realize if you get a massive record deal and your popularity grows exponentially, that means you're going to have to be on social media more.
Yeah, I might just write letters to people or something, go old school. Here's my mailing address. Like Bill Murray. If you want to book Bill Murray, he's got that answer machine. You just have to phone up and leave him I'll just do something like that. You have to write me a letter and have a P.O. box.
Lauren, in 3 to 5 words, last question. Can you tell me your experience in Tremours thus far?
Glenn is the best. There you go. I just answered for her.
I was going to say something nice, but I'm going to have to switch what I was thinking. I think we're kind of like recklessly idealistic, and I like to keep it that way.
I like it. Glenn?
I was just gonna say someone gets have a good time all the time. There you go. See if anyone gets that reference. It's from one of the films I've seen most in the world, I think.
Thank you both for this really fun, engaging, entertaining conversation, providing a sense of your identity as a band and as two people that obviously clearly trust and respect each other. Quite a deal, and congratulations on this fantastic album, Fragments, and this successful tour that you had with Gary Numan, and looking forward to when Tremours music comes out. And people can follow you on Bandcamp. Spotify, all those platforms. Yeah.
Yes,
All of
we are. I think we're Tremours Music pretty much across the board.
With a U. Don't forget the U.
That's right.
Tremours music.
Final quote here, but this time nobody's going to talk about it. This is by Rick Rubin, who wrote a book called The Creative Act of Way of Being. And this is what he says. Living life as an artist is a practice. You're either engaging in the practice or not. It makes no sense to say you're not good at it. It's like saying, I'm not good at being a monk. You're either living as a monk or you are not. We tend to think of the artist's work as the output. The real work of the artist is a way of being in the world. My name is W, host of this podcast feature known as Surprise Cast. And remember this, everyone. Great music is all around us. All you have to do is simply keep your ears open.